so and I was tossing around all the different things in my life and my experiences as a professional fighter and trying to boil it down to a simple 10-minute message to really convey the message of the Four Diamonds and convey and encourage you all to play your part. As Mr. Titchell said, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about Hershey Middle School, it's about an entire community and what we can do together. And after hashing out, thinking about all the different experiences, it all boiled down to one thing. How many of you, let me see a show of hands, how many of you have ever heard the movie Rocky? Nearly everyone, right? None of the teachers have their hands up. Come on, I know we've all heard of Rocky. So, as a 6-year-old, I was absolutely infatuated with the movie and with the character Rocky. And for those of you who don't know, Rocky is a story, literally it's a story of rags to riches. There was this guy named Rocky Balboa who was picked from the streets of Philadelphia, a nobody. He had nothing going for him in his life. He was a has-been and it never was. And he had this opportunity. He was thrust into the spotlight out of nowhere and given the opportunity to fight for the championship of the world, right? He was given this obstacle, this opponent that was unbeatable, right? It was unbeatable in the minds of the entire world except one person, Rocky Balboa. And I was so infatuated with that movie as a kid. And at 6 years old, you know, it would be on TV. It's still on TV all the time now because at 35, well, actually I just turned 35, I almost said 34. Yesterday was my birthday. Thank you. But as a, thank you. But as a 35-year-old man, I'm still infatuated with Rocky. I'm infatuated with the story. But at 6 years old, when it was on the TV, I would do push-ups. If Rocky was doing push-ups, I was doing push-ups. Back then, I was 6. You know, I was probably doing 3 push-ups. My back was probably, you know, terrible form of push-ups, but I thought I was just like Rocky Balboa. If Rocky was running, I would run. I would tear around my house, you know, knocking things over, knocking over lamps, doing everything I could to be just like Rocky. So that mentality, that appreciation for setting goals, overcoming challenges has followed me throughout my entire life. Case in point, on June 26, 2011, at this point in my professional fighting career, I had made it to the big leagues. I was already in the UFC, but to give you a little bit of background on the UFC, imagine getting to high school. So high school is a big deal, right? But even in high school, there's seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. It's just a natural order. Well, at this point in my professional fighting career, I was like a freshman. Nobody really knew me. I hadn't really proven myself on the big stage yet. I was just kind of the little guy. On June 26, 2011, I was given, I earned, I got lucky, however you want to put it. I had the opportunity presented to me to take on this guy on the left. That's me on the right. My hair was a little bit bushier back then. But, you laughing at my haircut? But I had the opportunity to take on this guy, right? So this guy's fists were like this big, his ears were gnarled from a lifetime of wrestling and professional fighting, and he was ranked number 6 in the world. Number 6 best fighter in the world. If he would have beat me, he would have fought for the UFC welterweight championship of the world. This is big time. And I'm just this little guy. I'm just little Charlie Brennan from Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. And all of a sudden I was thrust into this situation. And you know, when the opportunity was presented to me, it was overwhelming. I didn't know what to think. I thought, this is awesome. But guess what? It's a fist fight. So anything can happen. And guess what else? It's on live TV in front of close to 1 million people. So what an overwhelming challenge. What an overwhelming opponent and situation I was in. I'd love to tell the whole story, but let's fast forward a little bit. So on June 26th, 10 o'clock on live television, I walked down to the Octagon. It was in Pittsburgh, PA. I'm originally from Hollidaysburg, so the hometown crowd was chanting my name, Spaniard, Spaniard, Spaniard. And this was the real deal. This was it. The hairs were standing up on my arms. I had chills all over my body. I was ready to go. I was ready to fight. And I walked into that situation, and I performed better than I could have ever planned in my life. Better than anything I could have ever imagined. And I was able to fight this monster. I forgot to tell you his nickname. His nickname was the horror story, right? So as if this guy wasn't scary enough and wasn't intimidating enough, his name was the horror story, right? So this is the real deal. But I was able to fight tooth and nail through 15 minutes, and I was able to come out the victor. And that challenge, it was by far the biggest challenge of my life. And I was able to accept that challenge with open arms, and I was able to win. And overnight, my life changed. Overnight, I went from being a little freshman that nobody cared about to being the most sought-after interview in the world in mixed martial arts. Literally, it changed my life. Now, how many of you in here, let me see an honest show of hands, plan on being a professional fighter? Not maybe one hand, and I'm guessing after a little bit of conversation, he may not. But anyway, my point is this. My story, fun, cool, awesome, right? What's it have to do with you? What's it have to do with Thon and the 4 Diamonds? Why did I just tell it to you? Let's back up a little bit. It's a little blurry along the bottom here. But after talking with Mr. Titzel and after thinking, what story of mine has lived the 4 Diamonds? Courage. It became unblurred. Thank you. Courage. Right? When I was given this opponent, Rick Story, when I was put on this platform in front of 1 million people on live national television, that took courage. Right? It took courage to meet with open arms this challenge. Wisdom. Now, this is middle school, so 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. Trust me, I know you know everything, and I know you probably know more than your parents and your teachers. We're all aware of that, right? Obviously not. Just kidding. But my point is, the wisdom, right? I had this challenge. I had this goal. I had this opportunity. I had to rely on the people around me. I had to rely on my team to show me, to lead me, to lead me to victory. I had to rely on the wisdom of others. The honesty. When I was presented this opportunity to fight Rick Stewart, I had to be honest with myself. You know, it's easy to sit there in your seat quietly, in your mind saying, I'm going to raise $20,000 in 2 weeks. That's our goal, right? $20,000 in 2 weeks. It's easy to sit there and say it quietly. But at the end of those 2 weeks, you're going to have to be honest with yourself. You're going to have to look yourself in the mirror and ask if you did everything in your power to raise every cent that you could possibly raise. Before I accepted this fight, I had to look at myself and ask myself, have I lived my life? Have I lived a rocky life to prepare myself for this opportunity? And lastly, strength. Aside from the obvious physical strength of the fight and the endurance to get through, I had to rely on my inner strength, my perseverance. Anytime you shoot for something, anytime you shoot for the stars or reach for amazing, outstanding goal, it's never going to be easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it. Now, how does this relate to you in raising money for the 4 Diamonds? Let's take a look at courage. Over the next 2 weeks, it's not going to be an easy process. You're setting your goal high, right? $20,000, that's a lot of money. By taking a stand, each and every one of you, individually and collectively as a school, as a community, that shows courage to stand for something proudly, to proclaim it, and to work towards it takes courage. Wisdom. I'm encouraging you. Rely on the wisdom of all of your teachers. Rely on your principals. Rely on your coaches, your parents, your older siblings. They've been here before. They've raised money. They know different strategies and different techniques to get it done. Rely on their wisdom. Honesty. Perhaps most importantly, it's easy to sit there and say, oh, I did everything I could. I really did. But did you? You know, every morning, every night when you go to bed, it's only 14 days. It's 2 weeks. You got to be honest with yourself. Did you do everything in your power? Did you do the best of your ability to raise every cent possible? And lastly, the strength. You're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. You might have to stay up late. You might have to get up early. You got to rely on the strength and the perseverance to get the job done. You know, I was thinking of a great send-off, a great hoorah, a great quote, and then it dawned on me. This is a picture of me and my mom. And I know my mom was not a child. She wasn't born. But when I was a child, my mom had cancer. Not once, but twice. And I remember making the trip to Pittsburgh. I didn't know why I was going, I just knew that my mom was in bed. And she couldn't move. But I remember that process like it was yesterday. And because of organizations like THON and the Four Diamonds Fund, I still have them all. So even though individually you're just one person, one boy, one girl, collectively you're middle school, your school district, your community. Collectively, you can make a difference, and by making that difference,